Hey YouTube, it's KFoged again with another VOD talking about one-turning concepts and ideas. The first VOD was received really well, so I decided to make a little podcast series out of the topic one-turning. So by that, welcome to episode 2 of my podcast series One and Done. The agenda today is first to address two of my pet heads when it comes to one-turning. It's kind of an offensive thing and a defensive thing, and they actually link together, so you can almost say it's one thing. After that, we'll compare some one turning with movement 8, 84, no sidestep. So using Pro Elf in this case just to make it easier, having one guard versus 3 different setups. We'll be using halflings for the setup, just for the case of getting easier 3 dice and hopefully not messing up too much, showing the concepts and the ideas and talk about it. But with that, let's start talking about my two pet heads. If you already watched me cast games, you probably know what's coming, but let's take it anyway. So one of the most common things is backlining, and actually I don't hate backlining for a lot of cases. And if you don't know what you're doing, backlining is definitely better than most other stuff. Like we did see in last video, if you try to be cute, then you end up making something that's actually easier than having to dodge through. But my pet hate is the classic backlining with the tight line of scrimmage, which means people get easy chain pushes and you get easy chain push on the first block. Because my other pet hate is people is doing the whole method without even looking, like pushing a player up in a hole and then push around, without even looking at getting the first push on the blitz. So if you're gonna backline, at least spread out your players in some way, form or shape, to make it harder for him to actually make the first push. I kind of like 2 spaces, because if you have one, then it's just blocking him, and into between 2 players. Because it's between 2 players, it's even easier to. Oh, but it doesn't really matter, because as you will see in a second, even splitting them out here, you can still just go the long way around. But if you're less players, it's harder to go the long way around, and you might need to do the whole method. So again, we 11 players. So look for the blitz to give you the first push, and don't help them making that easier. But because it matters what you do. If you look at the odds, if you need to get 3 pushes, it's 27%, 0.4. To get 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus, because the last one can be a knockdown as well. But you need exactly pushes on the 2 first. But if you suddenly need a 5 plus more to even get started getting 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus, it drops to 15, and it drops to under 50% with a reroll just to get the pushes you need. So it matters if you can cut off a 5 plus, that's for sure. But here we got halflings with backlining with halflings. It's, again, if you don't know better, it's fine. We got some Pro Elf we're setting up. In this case, we need ball fetcher. He needs to be here because we're going the long way around. Where the ball lands is not important in all the scenarios. We're assuming we need to go for it, and we're assuming the ball gets there. It would be the same no matter what we do. It's basically because we got nerves of steel. Now we give the ball to the wrong player, but it doesn't really matter. The concept is the same. Run around. Go all the way around. And so we need a player here. So now we need a player there. In this case, we could just cheat. It's either dodging or blocking. In this case, we can just block him up. And now we got the 4+, 3+, 2+ to go through the back line. So we have, in this case, we have 4. After all that, we still got 4+, 3+, 2+. We don't have dodge. So it's, if you have the reroll, it's 55.6. For this part of it, it's 27.8 straight on. If you add the pushers, actually 3 pushers, we down to 7.6, 22.7. So after doing the backline, next up is doing like the standard defense you'll see most places, with two rows of 4 with 2 squares between. You can. The thing is, there's an option where the backline is higher. And we'll get back to into when. There's actually a case for both. That's kind of a case for both versions, and I'll get into that in a second when we actually start pushing. But if you don't think the person can do what we're going to do in a second, then this is better, because dodging straight through multiple, even a little bit lower dodges, but a lot more dodges is better odds than a few high. Than at one, like higher. Let's do it this way. Sometimes people also straddle a player out here, but for the reason we come back to in a second when we start pushing, that's not ideal either. If that player doesn't have like sidestep or anything useful, stun firm, sidestep or something, if you can, and it's just kind of helping just to push around. We got a guard in the middle because we're going to block. Doesn't really matter who you get in flings, but in this case you normally only have 2 dice if you're guard and he doesn't have guard there. But for the illustration of upsides and downs, let's do it. But this is a good example on how complicated it actually is, especially talking about the D. Oh, I did it again. Touchback, push the wrong player. Get the next push, and it's important we go to that square for one of my illustrations in a second. I need to fill that square. That will end up being a go for it because I didn't put. Should probably have put blitz out. I've put them around, so that's been at least a 2+ with a skill. But that, again, for the illustration, it doesn't really matter. Could knock him down. The problem with this setup is coming now. Because I get to this square, this is actually now only 3+, 3+, 2+, which is actually worse than a backline. But if I've been in any other squares, it's been 4 3+s and 2+. If I've been anywhere in here, so this the player up here is the weak defense versus the standard defense, and this is why I'm saying the backline might actually. Because if he's standing up there, it's suddenly 4+, 3+, 2+, so even if he can do this, it's the same as the backline. But it's also slightly better, I think, than Riot, against Riot and other stuff, than the backline, because you at least is up here. He's forced to go to this side of the field. Most of his players is in here, and he needs to get out there, because he cannot really go up here where all your players is if you want to get more forward. So I think it's slightly better for Riot. And if you don't think he knows that he needs to get to this square, it's a lot better than the backline. Or if he goes the other way and gets stuck in this situation. But if he knows what to do, this is actually not great. Because if we compare, if we look at the odds, if it's with all the 3 pluses, it's 16.5. 41 with rerolls just for the dodges, which is down to 4.5, 15.6. But if he knows the side, we're suddenly looking at like 37, 68, 10 and 28.8. So a lot better odds. If we compare, take the back line again. But it's not much better odds than, it's a bit, if you think there's a chance he doesn't know how to get the 3+3+2+, then it's definitely better doing it. But if you think he can, you might just put your backline 1 up. Even if it's then it's worse if he goes straight on. If you go straight on, then it's going to be 4+3+3+2. So next up is like a close defense. A bit like Jimmy's, and it will be completely terrible against Movement 9 sidestep, but we've got Movement 8 here. One of the ideas is it should be harder to be able to catch the ball. He's thinking more tackle zones on the ball carrier. But even against standard D, it will often be, the standard D will be often be in 2 tackle zones, if 1 or 2, so 3+, 4+. Against backline it will be either 0 or 1. But here we're hoping to make the pass have to be in 2 tackle zones. But in case of Elven Union, it doesn't really matter because we also got Nerf's Steel. So it's basically against stuff like Elven Union, you need to be really careful what you're doing. Maybe at this time can remember to actually click on somebody else than the guy I'm going to blitz with. So this time we click the right one, the Nerf's Steel player is the one we actually want to score with. But we're not starting with the scoring against the defense like here, because remember our first rule, we want to push on the first block. Right now this is kind of pushed denial because we cannot get to push on the first block. But we got a 3+ dice into here, and even a knockdown is probably fine if you don't kill the player. And now we can blitz in from this side. And suddenly we get the first push. We need to move somebody over here, because we could. We need kind of to dodge one more, but in this case a touchback. Move him, because we need those 2 squares. But you can see even here, we'll give him the ball now. If the ball had been somewhere else, we're giving him now in 3+. So that's the time to give the ball in against this defense. Now he can move down. And we got now we got the pushes, and in this right now we even got a bonus. Because this player can actually do stuff as well. So if that player is attackable, like if your player is a block guard and he's nothing, you can even take, that's a 2+. Alternatively, we're already down to just 3+2+. You might even also have like an option to do something like that with a skilled player again. It's all depending on which player you put here. This team has next to no skills. In reality, we should probably put the Dutch over here. Now it's even worse because now we're down to a simple 2+. So if we take a look at this, we need a 3+ and 2 dice, not killing, which is a bit harder taking account, but hopefully we just get pushes. And then we need 3+, 2+. Oh shit. And then we only need... That's bad. That's missing a 2+. Let's put that in. Because it's a 2 die 3+, 3+. So 2 die 3+, 3+. Into 2+, which is 49, plus 4, 76. So 35, 13.5, including all the pushes, otherwise pushes. And we could even, in this case, potentially have skills to take away a 3+, but for illustration it doesn't matter. So if we compare the 3 methods, then we're back to, I will stick to my standard D, I think, even because the catch is still a 3+ here, it will probably be 3+ here. Here it might be 2+, so that goes up a bit, but but you can see the defending against one turning is a lot harder than actually making the one turner. And, but I think we'll stop this from this time. If anybody has any suggestions to what take up in this series, more than welcome to make a comment under this video. Otherwise, I'll just say thank you for your time and enjoy playing Blood Bowl because it's a great game.